In this training, we're going to take a look at the myServicePro Android application and the basics of using it. This assumes that you have an Android device and you already have the application installed on the device. If you need help with installing the application, check out our YouTube video on how to do that or contact our support. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, in most cases, after you install the application, you'll have a shortcut on one of your screens within your device or on your device. If you don't see it on your screens, you can go into Applications and find it on the somewhere on one of the applications screen. So to start with, I'll go ahead and tap on the shortcut on the desktop to open it up. I'll point out that the version number is listed toward the top of the screen. In this case, it's 1.1.4.14. Just keep that in mind if you ever need to contact support. The support staff may ask you for the version number, and that's where you can find that. So every user has a company ID, a user ID, and a password. After entering your company ID, user ID, and password, go ahead and tap Login. Now the device is going to synchronize and basically look for any changes on the dispatch board, so any assignments, any work order assignments that have been added to the board for the particular technician, and any assignments that may have been on the board but removed. So here you can see I have a few calls listed here. If the amount of calls extends off the screen, you just scroll down through. Notice along the bottom of the screen there are some buttons. The sync button, that's to manually synchronize. So if I wanted to check for any changes to my schedule, I could go ahead and tap that, and that would synchronize the device. There's the log off button, which typically doesn't need to be used if the same technician is using the same device every day, but the log off option is there. And then there's options. I won't go into that right now, but there are occasions where you'll want to or possibly need to go into the options. To access a particular call or assignment, just tap on the screen. I'll tap on this third one down in the list. And this is going to display the work order details. You can see I have the work order number, call type, date, time, notes from the work order. If you scroll down through, see the address. You can tap on the address there. That will bring up Google Maps, and you can get directions that way if you want to. Any phone numbers that are listed, you'll notice they're highlighted in green, or the one that's there is highlighted in green. If you tap on the phone number, it will automatically call that. And you can scroll down through for even more details about the customer and site. If this menu across the bottom is ever in the way, just tap on the Hide Menu button, and that will hide that. And to bring the menu back, just tap Show Menu, and it will reappear. You'll notice at the top of the screen, there are two buttons, En Route and Arrived. En Route, I like to say before you put the truck in gear, go ahead and tap En Route. But basically, when you're leaving for the trip or when the technician's leaving, that's the time for the technician to tap En Route. What that does is, obviously, you get a message here on the screen that the En Route time was successfully updated. So I'll clear that by tapping Done. And you'll see at the top of the screen, it records the date and the time. So what that does is, in every case, it will send a message back to the office, and on the dispatch board in the office, the block will update and turn yellow, and the time and date will be recorded there. In certain third-party or with certain third-party work orders, that will also send a status to the warranty company. Now, again, that doesn't happen with every third-party warranty company, but with some, it will send a status to the third party. Also, if you're using the myService auto text feature, that can also be set for the en route time to send a text message to the customer saying that the technician is en route. Once the technician arrives on the job site, that's when you want to tap Arrived. So arrive at the job site, tap Arrived, and I'll clear that little message that says Arrive time successfully updated. And you'll notice that the arrive time, date, and time are recorded there. And that will also send the date and time back to the office and update the color of the dispatch block or the assignment block on the dispatch board. It will update that to green, and it will record the date and the time there as well. And again, with certain third-party work orders, it's going to send the status to that third party. To go to the next screen and to move between screens, you can swipe from left to right on the screen like I'm doing right now. Or you can always go down to the very bottom of the screen. I have some buttons there: work order detail, service history, equipment list, and so forth. You can get to the screens that way as well. Now, we didn't have room to put all the screens there. So if you want to see more, you tap on more, and that will bring up a list of all the screens within the application. To go back to any previous screen, just tap on the back arrow on the Android device along the very bottom of the screen. Okay, so let's go to the next screen. I'll just swipe from right to left. This next screen is additional details. This screen comes into play with third-party work orders or warranty work orders. If there are any further details that we were able to get from that third-party dispatch, those details will be listed here. Swiping right to left on the next screen, this is the service agreement screen. So if you're using the service agreement module within myServicePro and this work order happens to be associated with a service agreement, this is where the technician will see any details about that service agreement. I'll swipe from right to left again, and this is where you can take job photos. And now you'll notice at the very top of the screen there that currently only 2 photos can be saved with each assignment. So you can take, say, a before and after photo. This is something that we're working on enhancing as of May 2016. You'll be able to take more photos and make them available back in the office. So for right now, when you take the photos, you can take 2 photos, and then those photos can be attached to emails sent from the device. I'll swipe from right to left again to go to the next screen. Now we're at the service history screen. This is where, one, the technician can see any previous history that's been recorded for this job site. So we can scroll down through here and see all the previous history. And then make a new history note right here on the screen. Now I'll just enter something very brief here. And notice the word completion, that can always be useful. Also, voice recognition on Android devices works really well. That can be very effective when entering service history notes. So the service history notes can be really anything that applies to this job or the work being done. Just remember, when you enter a note, tap on save, and once the note is saved, it's added to the history down below. If you need to edit the note that was just entered or add more to it, that's no problem. Just tap up there in the window, add whatever you need to add, tap save again, and any changes that you make will be reflected in the history down below. One thing I always like to point out here is the only note that can be edited on the mobile device is the note currently being entered. So the previous notes down below, they cannot be edited from the device. Okay, moving on to the next screen. Again, I'm just swiping from right to left. This is the equipment list. You can record pieces of equipment that are installed or that are on site at the customer's job site. And I've recorded some pieces of equipment here on this test site that I use. If you want to add a new piece of equipment, you just come down here. I hid the menu there and tap on New. And we do have a barcode field, but currently we don't use any kind of barcode scanners. If you want to enter something there, you can. And then, of course, make, model, serial number, location, like where it is, where the piece of equipment is, and then the type. Now, this list of types is entered back in the office or on the back end. When you enter a piece of equipment, you must have something to choose here. So if you're ever trying to add a piece of equipment and you see nothing in the list, that's something where you'll need to let the office know, and they may need to enter some equipment types back in the office. Then, of course, we have the install date. You can put that in there, warranty start, warranty end, and then any notes that you might want to make when you're first entering this piece of equipment. Now, I'm not going to save this since I didn't enter anything, so I'll just tap the back button, go back to my list of equipment, and show you what it looks like once you have a piece of equipment in there. So I'll tap on this first one. When I tap on that, you'll see I get the details, make, model, serial number, location, things like that. I have an area here to put in notes. This is similar to the service history, except obviously it's notes related to this specific piece of equipment. If I scroll down some more, now I'll see the previous history. So again, just like service history, where the previous history is maintained, here on the equipment list, the equipment history is maintained as well. After working with a piece of equipment, if you want to work with another one or add another one, just tap the back button, come back here to the equipment list, and proceed however you need to. Okay, so moving on to the next screen, again, I'm just going to swipe from right to left. This takes me to the sales opportunities screen. Sales opportunities are intended to give the technician a way to easily communicate some information via email back to the office or to office users. Not all companies use this. Some do, some don't. But in the office or on the back end in myServicePro, you can create different categories like I have here: service agreement, ducts, category X, category Y, and other. And with each sales opportunity category, such as service agreement, you can create an email template, or an email template can be created. Again, this is in the office. And then each email template can have one or more email addresses where an email gets sent whenever that sales opportunity is used. Let's say that you're encouraged as a technician to try to sell service agreements to customers. Well, then your company may have a service agreement sales opportunity. And if you get a customer who's interested and say wants a phone call after 5 p.m., tap on service agreement to check that, and then make a note saying something like, customer very interested in a service agreement, customer interested, call after 5 p.m. Now your note could be longer than that, but I'll keep it brief for this training. Like with anything, whenever there's save, like service history or equipment history, make sure you tap on save to save your changes. And we get a message there that says saved successfully. Now what's going to happen is when you finish out this assignment, that email or the email for that service agreement is going to be sent where it's supposed to be sent. The next screen, again, swiping from right to left, is the invoice items screen. So this is where, even if you're not creating an invoice per se, this is where you're going to enter the items that you've used or the items that are going to be billed. Click or tap add item, and you'll see you get some categories, subcategory, search by, search term. Some customers choose to organize their items by categories. In my demo company that I use, I have some categories here. I'll just choose the filters category. If I choose the filters category and then tap on search, that's going to show me everything in the filters category. Another way to search, I'm just going to tap back to get to the previous screen. So another way that you can search, maybe you don't want to use categories or your company doesn't use categories. Maybe you just want to search by the name of an item. Well, I want to search for the widget. So I'll just type in part of that name, tap on search, and then that's going to find anything in the list of items that has a name or description that matches what I typed in. So there's different ways that you can search. Use what works best for you. Bottom line is when you find the item you want, go ahead and tap on it, and that's going to bring up the details of that item. So I have the name and a barcode. That's just something used internally, so you can ignore the barcode. The default description, this is the description that is there automatically. If you need to change it, you can alter that. The quantity, that will default to 1. Obviously, you want to update that to whatever applies. The unit price, that will also default. If you need to, you can change that. I would say in most cases you want to leave that as is. The item will default to whether it's taxable or non-taxable. You can change that as well if you need to. If you ever see the button here that says query time, that is going to give you a quick calculation of how much time you've been on the job and how much of your time was travel time. That can be useful if you're recording labor, or maybe you just need to or want to know how long you've been on the job as of that point. So that's what the query time button does. And then your total, you can see your total if you want by tapping total. You don't actually need to do that. You can simply tap on add, and that's going to add your item to your ticket or to your invoice. If you need to add more items, obviously just tap add item again and go through the steps we just went through. The last screen we're going to go to is the Invoice Wrap Up screen. I could swipe from right to left, or in this case, I'll just tap on Invoice Wrap Up along the bottom of the screen. This is where you'll give the work order a status. In this case, complete, incomplete, or hold. Statuses can vary. Some of the third-party work orders or warranty work orders will have some slightly different statuses. You may see different statuses listed in this pull-down menu depending on the third parties that you use or that you work with. In this case, I'll tap on complete. I'll say bill now, yes or no. Basically, if you say bill now, no, then an invoice is not going to be created when this gets back to the office. If you say bill now, yes, then an invoice does get created. Now for office users, in either case, a ticket will be created on the back end. So you'll see a ticket. It's just that bill now, no will take that ticket and then not create an invoice. Bill now, yes will create an invoice from that ticket. Again, I'm just going to tap bill now, yes. I'll select my tax. If you do not charge sales tax, you'll have to choose something like no tax or whatever your company has put in there. So even if you don't charge tax, you will need to select something here. I'll just select PA state tax. And you'll see the tax is calculated. It'll show the subtotal, and then it'll show the tax and subtotal added to get the total here. Now to collect payment, if you're using our credit card option, I won't go into the details of how to do that, but if you're using our credit card option, tap on card, and then if you're using a credit card swiper, you'd tap on card and then next. If you're going to manually edit the credit card, tap on manual and then tap next. I won't go any further than this, but this is if you are collecting credit cards using the myService CC product through myServicePro. But in this case, let's just say I'll select collect payment via check. I tapped on check. Did I receive the check? Yes. I'll enter the check number. We'll just say 1234. And the date will default to the current date. So in most cases, you won't have to change the date. Then we'll go ahead, check everything. Yep, looks good. Tap on save, tap done, and my payment amount was recorded correctly. And the amount collected, I want to go ahead and make sure that reflects what I just collected. So 126.41. You can get a signature from the user. Type in the customer's name there. And then to get a signature, just tap on signature. Have the customer sign. If they don't like the signature, tap reset. That'll wipe it out. They can sign again. Then tap on save. That'll save the signature. Tap close. And now you're back at the invoice wrap-up screen again. If you think of something else that you need to do, maybe another service history note that needs to be made or an equipment history note, or you need to refer back to something, now's the time to do it. And you can jump back to any of these screens either by using the menu across the bottom or by just swiping through the screens like we did earlier. You just want to go ahead and hide the menu there. Before I finish this, let's send an email. Of course, you want to send an email to the customer. Just tap on the send button. you have two options here. You can either send the full ticket or invoice, meaning all the notes, all the line items, all the information that would typically get sent, or maybe the customer just wants a payment receipt to show what they paid without the line items listed, without the history. So in that case, if all they want is a payment receipt, you would want to select Send Payment Receipt. But I'll go ahead and tap on Send Full Ticket Invoice. And if you've taken any photos and you want those included in the email, you would want to go ahead and keep that box checked. And then tap on Next. The mail from is going to be automatically filled in. The mail to, if that does not automatically populate, then you just want to go ahead and ask the customer for their email. Go ahead and type it in there, double check it. And if they have two email addresses, you can always enter the second one as well. Just separate the two email addresses by a comma or a semicolon. The mail CC, that's something that gets set back in the office, so you can just leave that as is. This is what the subject of the email will be right down here. And when you're ready to send it, just go ahead and tap on Send. Now, I didn't put a to address in there, so it's going to prompt me that I need to enter a to address. But if you did put a to address in there, it would send that email and notify you that the email was sent successfully. When you're all done, just tap on Done, and now you're returned to the Invoice Wrap Up screen. Now's the time that we want to tap on Finish. So I'll tap Finish, and it's going to ask me to confirm, am I sure I want to finish this? Because if I say OK here, I won't be able to add any more notes or anything like that. If I think of a note to add, I want to tap on Cancel right now and do that. But I'm all good. I'm ready to go here. It's all done. So I'll tap OK. At this point, the device is going to automatically synchronize. It'll send all the information I just completed. It'll send that back to the office along with the status. So on the office end, the office will now have all the information that was input, and the block on the dispatch board will turn, in this case, it'll turn blue since I marked the assignment as complete. Since the device synchronized, it will also look for any changes on the dispatch board. So if any new work order assignments were added to the board or any were removed, then the screen here will update accordingly. If you have any questions on using the mobile application or have any issues, feel free to contact us. Go to www.myserviceforce.com. You can use our live chat that's right there on the site. It's also available on mobile devices, so feel free to use that. And you can email us at support@myserviceforce.com. So feel free to contact us with any questions or if you have any issues.